G'day everyone, it's Coach Michelle J. Raymond, your trusted guide for building your brand and your business on LinkedIn. And this week, listeners, for those of you who have a thorough appreciation for my Aussie accent, have I got news for you. Our expert guest is actually another local in Sydney. Beck Chappell, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me. And my accent is particularly bad at the moment because I was saying to you just offline, I've been a bit sick. So you get this husky, maybe sexy Aussie voice.
Look, they love it. I'm just saying, my compliments on my voice have been smooth as honey. So I don't know where to go with this, listeners, but I promise that today we're going to be talking about the big marketing reset that Beck and I think people should be doing at the end of 2025 so we don't carry some of the bad habits, I think, that have crept into 2025. So we're going to talk about what we think maybe you should stop, something you should start, a redo and a rethink, and most of all, how to prep for 2026. So Beck, you love all things marketing. And so this is the reason that I wanted to come and pick your brain specifically, because you're helping businesses with this stuff, not just LinkedIn, but gasp, you're actually going outside of LinkedIn. Is there a world outside of LinkedIn, Beck, that we need to be mindful of?
There kind of is. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but there is a whole thing called marketing strategy, and there are all these other channels that can be brought into it. And look, every channel has its ceiling. I've literally said that twice today already, but every channel has its ceiling, and it's really important, I think, that we look outside of just LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a beautiful channel. It's worked very well for myself. It's worked very well for many of my customers, but there is a whole world outside of digital marketing as well. Which I know, who says this, Rebecca? But it is, it's definitely, there is a world outside of digital.
Okay. So Beck, here we are, we're at the end of 2025, and there is no doubt that 2025 has been the year that everyone would have us believe that AI can do everything. It can do your business plan. It can do your marketing plan. It can do your LinkedIn strategy. It can do everything except the dishes from what I've figured out. But what is one thing that you wish businesses would stop relying on AI for as they head into 2026?
Yeah, I think the one thing that we actually need AI to do is the dishes, if you ask me. But I think personally, I've had many conversations with a lot of tech people this year because I love a healthy discussion, right? And sometimes I do want to scream at the end of it. But I think this using AI to produce our strategy or even look at our business strategy, it's giving us same, and I think none of us get into business to be exactly the same. So I think when we outsource our thinking to AI, it doesn't allow us to think outside the box. It allows us it can give you the world's best marketing strategy, by the way, it can, right? Because it's reading some of the best marketing strategies that have been put on the internet. But the reality is, it's giving you a textbook answer. It's giving you very vanilla, very basic. It's not helping you think outside and how to connect with your audience. Sure, you can get great stats on your audience off AI or whatever platform that you use, but it's not helping you be different. And I think this is the one thing that I struggle with is how are we different? And I have this chat with clients all the time, and that's one of the questions I ask them. And most people struggle to answer because, hey, in all markets, we are almost all the same. There are a lot of marketers out there, but it's what drilling down into that differentiator, that's the thing I think that AI has taken from us, and that creativity, that unique thinking. And so I think that's one of the things that when we outsource our thinking or even outsource our writing, I was watching a really short clip on socials this morning from an author that's it's in the writing process where you learn the most. And I was oh, isn't that kind of poetic and beautiful? We're not all great writers, but maybe you're a great talker, so you can transcribe what you talk. So that's one of the things I think, that outsourcing our creativity and our thinking and our uniqueness to AI, it can do it all for you. There's no doubt. But hey, how boring. And you don't get to get the lessons on the way.
That is so true. I have had someone come to a call with me and present a LinkedIn strategy that AI had obviously helped them to create. And this thing was a masterpiece. There is no way in my lifetime am I creating 70 pages of the most amazing stuff that I'd ever seen from a strategy perspective. I also looked at it and pretty much thought in my mind, you should put that in the bin because that is not what is going to help your business? Because one, differentiation, to your point, there was no mention of anything along those lines. So of course they'll just look and sound and come across the same as everybody else in their industry. And that is, I think, the worst thing that any of us could do. But the other thing was, I just thought, if I am someone, their business wasn't active on LinkedIn at all, so we're starting absolute newbies, going to 70 pages to get done as part of this strategy. Where do you start? How do you support your team? How are you actually going to bring this thing to life? And I felt sorry for them, because you talk about overwhelm a lot, and I'm speaking to a lot of marketers who are overwhelmed because, I don't know, I think this AI stuff is overcomplicating a lot of stuff and skipping over the bits that actually are important. Is that what you see with your clients?
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of the clients I work with have team, right? And they're completely missing this collaboration opportunity to find out from the teams, how are you dealing with customers every day? What's the differentiator in those conversations that you're having? What's the feedback from your actual customers about this AI experience? And to your point, it doesn't tell you how to execute, and it can't. And also, you're not looking at the real world when you look at an AI strategy. It's not giving you those nuances in your business. Oh, Jenny has to go at 9 to 5 and work these hours, or 12 to 12, or whatever it is, because of her living situation. She's an excellent operator. She's an excellent executor. This AI strategy works with doing X at X time, or like how we look at those nuances with the people in our business and their living situations and how they all come together and the conversations that they have, or their strengths, or it misses this entire picture of your business. And in that, if you deliver a strategy and say, hi, sales team, because by the way, the biggest buy-in you need as a marketer is your sales and customer service team. If you go to your sales team, you're like, hey, this is the marketing strategy. They're going to say, where was my input in this? And then you create this like massive friction. And as solopreneurs, we think that if there's a solopreneur listening going, that's not relevant to me because I don't have team and AI can create my strategy. That's, once again, you're still missing the nuances that make you and make your business run the way that it runs based on the way that you are and your life experiences. And no matter how much you prompt it with, when I was 6, I created a team in my school. And this is a true story, right? Like when I was 6, I created some club, or I don't know, maybe I was a bit older, but like it doesn't know that story that I was like entrepreneurial thinking. And also, let's be honest, I don't know, trying to get money off my friends. Why was I doing that? But it doesn't know these little stories about my background, or it doesn't know that in my 20s, like my entire team was made redundant and I had to build a marketing thing. And it doesn't know people's experience and your experience, regardless of how you prompt it or train it or onboard it. It just doesn't have the nuance. And I think that's what's missing from it. That's where teams struggle then to execute on this strategy, and it doesn't work.
Yeah, look, I think it's just a big yes from me. I've spoken to a number of guests on this particular topic in different ways. It comes out as beige content that sounds like everybody else. It comes out that we're all looking and sounding the same as our competitors. It comes out that the sales team's doing one thing and the marketing team's doing another. There's lots of ways that it can help, as you acknowledge, and it is an amazing tool. But I agree with you. I think if we don't actually put ourselves into these strategies and do the work, you literally just cannot outsource that part of the process without going back and refining things. But I like to stay pretty positive. And I know with AI, sometimes I might sound like I'm anti-AI, but I'm certainly not. But I want to also go to what I think you'd like to see more people starting to do more of these things going into 2026. So I was doing research for the podcast and I downloaded the white paper on your website called Social Media Won't Save Your Marketing. And there was a headline in there that particularly grabbed my attention. And it was, the magic of brand is being lost. And it really just poked me straight between the eyes. And I thought, yes, I actually think that's what's going on right now, that brand as a function, as a word, as a, I don't know, as an energy, I don't know how you describe it, but it seems to have been pushed aside and that productivity comes in. What do you think that businesses should be doing to bring brand back, to get that magic of brand back in the business?
I love this question because even though I'm not a brand strategist and I've actually never personally worked in brand, I'm probably brand's biggest advocate. And I want to sound positive as well. I'm a big believer, like a lot of my stuff, people would be like, oh, she must hate AI. I don't hate AI. I 100% use it every day in my business. There's no doubt that it has made my job more efficient. But what I think what brand has never had a good rap. And you want to know why? It's because people don't like spending money without seeing tangible ROI. Brand can't do that. It can, but we can't actually physically track it a lot of the time. And I think marketing has been, especially as it's been digitized, it's been seen as this part of your business that should just, like a sales team, generate money. So I think people have looked at brand strategists and looked at AI can create my logo now. Sweet. AI can create my logo. It doesn't matter. It's just a logo. It means nothing. But I think like the brand people in the room, they're like crying right now because their creativity and the thoughts and the actual human behavior that we know psychologically, there is so much psychological study that goes into brands and into creating brands that genuinely have longevity, but also make people feel something. And I think that we've taken the emotion out of it with AI because AI is not emotional. But guess what? Humans, we are emotional. I'm emotional all the damn time. I'm a woman, so good luck. But if you want to sell to me, and by the way, men are just as emotional, they just don't admit it. But if you want to sell to me, you have to do it on an emotional level. Like I need to be feeling something to choose your product over someone else's. And I think we lost that because we're like, okay, if I go to market and I do this great ad, I'm going to get in front of my people. But it's like, how is your ad moving me? How is your ad making me feel genuinely connected to your brand? And I think as much as I say it's lost, there are still some brands that do it particularly well or have created movements. Like I did a post on White Fox that went wild because White Fox is a really great example of how you can build these. It's not even necessarily legacy. They bought onto like this great digital trend. They got followers, they influence the market, all of that. But they're also still advertising on the side of buses now, by the way. So they've had to also still look at their markets and go, what are the channels that we're not in? But they've built this cult following. And I think when we look at brands that have made it, brands that have built longevity, brands that make people feel something, there's probably been that cult like element. And it's because they really know how to bed down into people's emotions and answer that need of, what is the real problem for my consumer? How do I create FOMO for my consumer? That's what White Fox did, right? It was like, oh, I want to be wearing, and even me, I'm like, I'm too old to be wearing White Fox, but I feel like I should be. Like,
you've got the hoodie, haven't you?
I don't, but I kind of want the hoodie. And I'm like, why do I want the hoodie? I'm a 37-year-old woman. Why am I trying to be 17? But it's that whole, like that FOMO piece of what was this and what was that movement? And it's like, you know, we see it micro, like there's certain restaurants, I think, that have created these micro brands as well. They create Marrickville pork roll, which you will know, right? They've gone big now. But when they first started, like they created this absolute demand from a really great product. But it's that brand. They were like, we create the best pork roll in Sydney. And everyone's looking for a good banh mi, right? Like delicious. Expensive banh mi though, by the way, because it used to be $5 and these days you're paying 16. Inflation. That's how you really felt it through the banh mi.
Brand. I think it's brand.
Right?
Because
you brand.
can. Because for those of you who don't know, this is a place that is more like a little hole in the wall shop that has a lineup for as far as the eye can see every single day, all day, every day of the week. And people are queuing up. They're traveling from the other side of Sydney to come and get some of this. They're driving past probably 20 other places that they could buy exactly the same product.
And it would be
at
just
a cheaper
as
price,
mind you.
But and possibly even as good or better tasting. Yeah. But brand is what gets them in that door. And I think that's just the power of brand. And Beck, I apologize to all of the people out there that are in charge of marketing, branding, these types of things within business. As someone that spent 20 years in sales, I didn't care about branding. I saw zero value in it. I thought it was rubbish. I was the best salesperson in the world, and it was all to do with me that the business got sales, until I had to set up my own business. And then all of a sudden had to understand everything behind it and beyond colors and logos, because that was the extent of my knowledge of branding. That's literally where I was at. And then fast forward 6 years, I'm still figuring this out for myself so I can still stand out. And that word that you said before about differentiation, how is Michelle J. Raymond different to other people out there in the world when everything that makes me want to do that, at the same time, my brain says, Michelle, be like all of them. That's how everyone else is doing it. You should do it the same because it's safe and it's comfortable and you won't stand out because you've been taught your whole life as an Aussie to not be the tall poppy and we literally as a culture chop people down that think that they're better than us in some way. And so we'll do it to ourselves before anyone else even gets a chance now. And that to me is something that I've had to learn and grow with over time, because now I see brand as this powerful thing where you can charge higher prices. You get to work with better customers. You do get to stand out in a pretty tough market out there. Let's be clear, people aren't throwing cash around in 2025 and it's only going to get worse in 2026. Yeah. So from my sales little heart, I'm like thinking, you got to get this brand thing working.
And I think if you also want to know the practicalities of how to do it, because I think the conversation is always, oh, you need a brand, you need a brand. And I know with me, I hate seeing those messages without, yeah, but how? And it's please stop gatekeeping this concept of brand. So I just want to give 2 thoughts on that, if I can. The first one is honestly figure out the hill you're going to die on. What is the thing in your market that you believe in? That's why you created your own business. That's why you're here. And I know it sounds fluffy and I'm very practical and I'm all those great things, but genuinely, what is it that you give a shit about? Can I say shit?
You can.
What is it that you give a shit about? Because I promise you there's something in there that's that fire in the belly. And when you bed down into that, then ask yourself why it matters to the person that's going to buy from you. Because to your point, consumers have never had more access to brands. They've never been advertised to more than they are now. And they've never had to be more careful with how they're spending their money. So you'd better make it worth their while. And if you're arrogant enough to think that you don't need to and that AI can just continue to spit out same stuff for you, I think you're going to slowly disappear. And that's sad because no one should slowly disappear when they have a reason for starting their own business and a fire in their belly as to something that they genuinely want to see different in their industry. So I think they're the 2 things I would say how you bed down into brand. It is about like, look, logos matters, colors matters. We know that psychologically all that stuff does matter. But really what matters most, I personally think, is that messaging and nailing like what you care about.
Look, it's a big ditto from me on this one as well. And I think that's the thing that for myself, as I've questioned my own business over the last few months, because things weren't happening as quickly and easily on social as what it was. Go back 2020, 2021. It was amazing. We were living the gold rush dream on social. Everyone was on there. It's been amazing. And now we're 6 years almost later going into 2026 where that's not the world we live in. And so let's talk about a rethink from that perspective. And possibly something that this audience is not expecting me to say. I mean, this is a podcast about using social media for B2B growth. So that is literally the premise of this show. But social has shifted and people have shifted. What they do and don't like has shifted. Absolutely. So let's have a rethink about something. And this is something that's going to challenge me from your perspective. And I'm okay with that. That's why I've got you here, because I think it's important. Why do you think that businesses need to actually rethink social's role in their marketing mix going into 2026? I'm going to let you have this one because I think I need to hear this message just as much as everyone else.
Look, I think socials, I want to preface it with socials are a very important part of your strategy. I would never, unless you have an ethical issue with, I found myself on Meta this morning going, why am I here? I ethically hate this platform. I hate what they stand for and I hate what they do. So I think probably a lot of people are having those internal conversations too, right? Because we know, and even LinkedIn, there's been so much conversation at the moment about the ethics behind that and blah, blah, blah. We can talk about ethics all day, but social media, important channel. And I think that you're still going to have some of your audience there. But the reason I wouldn't say keep putting all your eggs in that one basket is the reason I wouldn't say put your eggs in any one basket. I think it's this diversification so that if something gets switched off tomorrow, your business does not tank, because that's the scariest thing in business is having, if all your leads come from word of mouth and then your biggest word of mouth generator decides that they don't like you anymore because you have a disagreement, because as humans, that can happen. What do? You don't have a backup. You have to have, I think, for all your channels, and it's not to say that you have to do everything either, because there are a lot of marketing channels and there's a lot of marketing channels that won't be right for your business, but there's a lot that will. So that's why it comes back to understanding and actually doing research into your market and knowing social media, channel number 1, Google AdWords, maybe that's my channel number 2, but obviously that digital frame of what AdWords looks like and ChatGPT searches and AI searches as a whole, all changing. It's a constantly changing environment. But that's why I also argue, why is your entire marketing strategy digital? Like, why are we so set on something that, like, the internet goes down and people are losing their absolute mind? Did we forget that we can pick up a phone? Did we forget that there are other ways that we can communicate and actually sometimes are better? Like, I had a really good conversation actually with a digital marketer this year, and her comment to me was, if you pick up the phone to ask about a proposal that you sent, you're in the top like 0.1%. And I was like, isn't that tragic? But you're not wrong, because most people send an email. They're like, hey, Michelle, did you get my proposal? Did you have any questions? Please tell me if you had any questions. Why are we not picking up the phone going, hey, Michelle, I sent you that proposal a week ago. Just, did you have any thoughts on that? Is there anything you want to come back at me? No pressure to obviously go with me, but I'd love the feedback regardless, because I'm building a business here just like you are, especially if you're in that B2B space. Hey, let's have an owner to owner conversation. And you could say, hated the proposal. It didn't meet my needs at all. Like these honest conversations and this honest feedback that we're missing so often. So it's about that marketing strategy and picking those channels outside of just social media so that we are genuinely, for lack of a better expression, future-proofing our businesses against relying heavily on just one thing that we don't know what LinkedIn's going to do tomorrow. We don't know if they're going to switch the algorithm. We don't know if they're going to completely just turn off because whatever happens. And I was in a conversation this week with the under 16s ban. It was like, oh, all the 15-year-olds are going to go to LinkedIn now. And I was like, good, they can work on their careers. And I was like, I don't see that happening, but like, it's a watch out. We don't actually know. We don't know the future of these platforms. We don't know if governments are going to crack down more on that, the type of advertising allowed on them, or if Meta's just brought in this thing where you can update your feed and curate your feed more accurately. Have they? I don't know if I believe it, but they're spruiking that they've done it. So, we don't actually know. So people might go, if they brought that in on LinkedIn, I don't think anyone's going to opt in to hear a personal story about how you can then buy from me. Like, I think that'll be the first thing. Like, if I see another personal story, I'm opting out. But making sure that I think we have that diversification across channels and that we're not heavily reliant on any one channel at any one time for our business's success.
Look, and there would be people out there going, LinkedIn's not going away, Beck. That's rubbish. I'll give you the handy tip. January in 2024, I woke up to a cease and desist letter from LinkedIn threatening that I would lose my whole LinkedIn account if I didn't change the name of this podcast. So for those of you who have been listening to the podcast for a while, you will already know that and the amount of effort and impact that had on our business and the amount of work that Lil and I had to do. I thought that I was the world's biggest fan and supporter of LinkedIn with everything that I do. And it still impacted me. We're seeing it with AI tools that are doing automatic screening. I know people that have lost their accounts from using tools they shouldn't have inadvertently. Maybe they didn't know it was against the user agreement because the websites all say how amazing these tools are. I've had it happen to people accidentally. I've seen people lose their YouTube channel accounts. This isn't unique to LinkedIn at all. But one of my favorite things that you had on your white paper in terms of diversification was collaborations. And if I actually think about it, when I go back to 2020, 2021, I lived in collaboration land, whether I was guesting on podcasts, LinkedIn Lives, partnering up with people. Like there were so many different ways that I used to do that I don't think I've been doing that as much this year. And so that's probably one small takeaway that I'm going to be looking at as far as the rethink on my side. What other things can I be doing? So we've got the rethink. Let's go on to the redo, because I think this is an important one. And I know that you're just going to say, yep, it is, Michelle. It's even more important than you probably give it credit for. And that is that I think that people put marketing strategies together, then they put LinkedIn strategies together, and the activities are two very separate things. What approach do you think that businesses need to redo so that their marketing and their LinkedIn presence actually work together?
So I want to start even before marketing, right? I want to go back to business strategy, because I think that also gets overlooked. Like, why are we here? Why are we doing what we do? And look, I'm guilty for sometimes not doing this, but I've started being really diligent. In November every year, I sit down and go, did I meet the business goals that I'd wanted for this year? And what were the 3-year ones? And I try not to go too far in advance, because we don't actually, the world is moving quickly. And I don't know what I'm going to be wanting to do in 5 years. So I'm not going to 5-year plan. But for me, I think go back to that business strategy, and then we align that with marketing, and we go, okay, this is what we want. This is what our customer wants. This is how the market's changing. These are the channels available to us. And then we build out from there. And I think nailing that, then we go, where does LinkedIn fit into this? And how do I actually need to be using it, not just to generate content, but actually to potentially look at the collaborations on there, go back and who am I friending or following or whatever on LinkedIn? Who am I talking to in my conversations? Who am I going after, for lack of a better expression? But who am I trying to attract as well? Because we know the thing with social media platforms, and our strategies, they're often about us pushing out content. They're not often about how we actually engage on the platform. And you would know a lot more about this, but that engagement piece is almost way more important than the content piece. My Instagram, I barely put anything on there these days. I don't love being on there. I'll set and forget it from my LinkedIn, to be honest. But I know that when my engagement drops, when I'm actually not commenting or liking or following, or even on LinkedIn, everything drops, because at the end of the day, the platform wants you living on there. The algorithm feeds off you seeing its ads, making its shareholders happy, making its advertisers happy. Like, that's the reality of these platforms. So in your LinkedIn strategy, go back to your marketing strategy of who am I trying to talk to? Who has my audience? Who is in a different industry that we can collab with? And looking at it from a whole point of view of the whole marketing strategy, and where like our LinkedIn or our social media fits within all the other channels that we're doing. And what are the things that I'm only going to put through my email? Or what are the things that someone's only going to see if they visit my website? Like, making sure that it's all aligned as well, and our message is the same through every channel. I think that's super important too.
Yeah, many people listening to this are probably thinking, yeah, we already do all of that. I'm currently working with some global teams who are all running their own mission, going in their own directions, in their own way and style. And we're trying to bring that all back together. And the question that I ask clients often is, why do people buy your product? And when I ask marketers that, and they start feeding back features and functions, and I'm like, no, that's not why anyone buys your products. This all sounds easy when we talk about it for 30 minutes on a podcast. Doing these fundamentals and getting back to those basics, I really think is the best way that businesses can really prep for 2026. I don't think it's the complicated things that people need to be worried about. I think it's we skipped over some steps and forgot about the basics, and getting back to strategy and fundamentals of marketing. And then we worry about content and algorithm and those kind of things. So I would like to ask you one last question as we prep for 2026, because we've gone over what to stop, what to start, what to redo, and what to rethink. So what is your single best piece of advice that you could give businesses that are preparing their marketing and their LinkedIn presence for 2026? What are you going with? Only one.
Only one. Don't do things that you think you have to. So I think that would be my, like, to your point, you mentioned it earlier, and I loved that you said it. It was this, we've had this, I want to follow. It's like that sheep mentality because it's safe, and it's like, but if they're doing it and they're getting results and they're telling me they're getting results, then they must, like, it's going to work for me. And if I'm not doing it, I'm going to get FOMO. So I think changing the mindset from, I see this thing and I see this ad where this person tells me they're making 50K a month, like by doing X, Y, Z. And if I follow this system, I think come back to yourself. And I think don't just do the things that you think that you have to do. So it's about what you know will actually get you results, what you tried and tested, what that whole piece of research that I think we do forget, because it's a lot harder than posting to LinkedIn and then blaming LinkedIn that the algorithm's shit and that's why I can't get sales. I think it's a lot easier to go down that path than it is to actually sit down and go, what am I going to do? What am I going to focus on and what's important to me?
Look, I was guilty of this, especially when I first started out, and everybody would say I had to be on every social platform because I was a small business and I needed to be seen. I was like, I hate Twitter. I have zero interest in Instagram. I was putting stuff there because people told me I should put stuff there and that's how I'd get discovered. And all that happened was I put crap stuff that wasn't really a good reflection of my brand. I didn't enjoy it. It was taking me away from the things that I was good at and should have been doing. And it just all looked C grade at best. So I found, for me and my business, it doesn't mean it works for everyone listening to the podcast, that I actually had to come back and say, what do I love? Okay, I love LinkedIn. That's my go-to. I know, right? Big surprise to the audience of this podcast. From there, it was also like, okay, so LinkedIn content lasts not very long. Where can I have content that would last longer? So YouTube was the next step for me. And obviously podcasting is a big piece of my approach these days. But again, am I just doing those things for the sake of it, or am I doing them half-baked, or do I need to come back and focus and find out what am I doing, and am I actually standing out to my audience, or just doing it because I enjoy it, which I have been guilty of in the past, of just doing things that I loved that weren't necessarily going to be helping my clients or find new business. And so there's always this balance, and you have to enjoy what you do. I'm not saying don't do that, but yeah, it's been interesting. I think for me, I'm going through a time of the year of reflection of this was a bumpy year for me. I've shared that many times on this podcast. It was all guns are blazing for the first 6 months. We're on fire. This is great. Oh my God, what happened? The world just dropped off for 3 months to, okay, we're back again. Seems things are ticking in. And I've doubted myself big time. And at the same time, it's okay, what's working and what's not, and what am I going to take into the new year? So Beck, thank you for everything that you've shared. For anybody that has enjoyed this conversation, Beck and I actually met through her podcast. And so if you love podcasts, Beck, can you tell everyone about your podcast so that they can come and check you out? And of course, all the details will be in the show notes.
Yeah, sure can. I've got a podcast called Marketing Espresso. It is designed that you can have it with your morning coffee, although it has gone away from its original, I guess, the original reason it was launched. But I have really great guests on there like yourself. And I also try to give like a tip, like just really practical, similar to this potty, really practical things that you can actually execute in your business, but also just, things to think through. So it's Marketing Espresso. And that's, a really great way to listen to more of me.
Exactly. So thank you so much for coming on. It's a bit of Aussie. And I hope everybody has enjoyed it as much as what I have. Next week's podcast, another friend is coming on the show, Nancy Harhart, bringing her behavioral science in marketing tips. She just blows my mind. Another friend that I got to meet earlier this year at Social Media Marketing World. So I do hope you'll join us. Beck, thank you so much. And I wish you every success in 2026.
Thank you so much for having me, and you as well.
Until next week. Cheers.